So I want to talk a little bit about readability. Readability is the opportunity for students to read text on the computer without too much visual clutter or distraction, but also to make the information that they're accessing a little bit more clear when they're reading. I find that students have some significant preferences in the way they access text and the way that it's presented to them. Can be very helpful in the reading process, make things a little bit easier for them. So I just want to show you some of the typical things that I see. Although there are ranges, I'm just going to show you some of the basics of how you can change text on the computer to make it a little bit easier for students to read. This does include kids with visual impairments, but it's certainly not limited to them. And even students who can read have specific preferences on how they see the text. So the first thing I want to show you is we're looking at a Google Doc right now, and we're looking at the default options in Google Docs. So when you type content in or as you browse around the internet, this is typically what you see in terms of the size of the text. And so we know that we can use Control plus and minus to make our screen a little bit bigger. But when students come in to use a Google Doc, it's really nice to set some defaults so that they don't have to make changes every time. Here are some of the specifics that students like to change. So right now we're looking at a size 11 font. So what I'm going to do is highlight all of my text and show you what it would look like to just increase the size a little bit to size 18. I often have kids who don't even have visual impairments who like to increase it even more than this. What it's starting to do is, yes, the content has spilled over into additional pages, but it's a little bit less overwhelming for students, and the size of the text is presented a little bit more clearly now. A couple of other key features can be, right after I highlight everything here, maybe using the bold. Makes the print pop just a little bit nicer off the page. Now, some of these features will be used by students and some it won't. Some only just want to see the text increase in size, but others will prefer to use all of the features, or at least most of them that I'm showing you here. As I continue to highlight some of this text, then we're going to work our way down here to line spacing. And what you'll see here is we're on 1.15, but as I move to even to 1.5, just 1.5 spaces, it starts to become more and more clear. It gives kids space to visually track the sentences that they're trying to read, and it removes some of the visual clutter from the page as well, providing students the ability to focus a little bit more easily. All right, so the next thing we can take a look at here is the different fonts. Arial is a really nice font, so kids sometimes will say, hey, that's, this works fine for me, and other kids will want to explore some of the other ones. Here's Georgia. This one is a popular font size that a lot of kids will pick, but again, it's personal preference and it's what works for students at that time. The other thing here is there's a zoom feature that allows us to kind of go in to a Google Doc and make it just a little bit bigger. So if we go to 125, the standard is 100%, but if we go to 125, it's even a little bit brighter. There's also this little hidden feature in the file toolbar up here in the upper left-hand corner of your Google Doc. So when you select File, and you scroll down to Page Setup, you have the ability to change the page color with which your text is presented. Kids who have color tendencies that you're working with, who read better with a green or blue overlay, this can be a really helpful feature for them. So they can come into Page Color and select a color that might work for them. Right now I'm going to click blue, and then I'm going to select OK. And what you can see here is it presents the whole background in light blue and gives that bold black text just a little more pop off of the screen. Students can and sometimes do prefer to change the font color as well, but this is often just enough for students to feel like readability is a little bit more easy to access. All of these features can be set to Google default so that every time they open up a Google Docs, it looks just like this when they start typing. They can use other tools in their Chrome extensions to help them. They can use the voice typing built into Google Doc if they feel like they want to use a dictation feature. They can also use the Read and Write Google toolbar to help with text to speech and listen to the text that they've typed for additional feedback. But these are just some of the basic readability features that I find a lot of students prefer to have access to. All right, so just to wrap up, I want to show you guys the difference between how we started and what we've ended up with here in terms of readability. So if you look at my two screenshots here, on the left-hand side is the text that we started with at the beginning. We had an Arial size 11 font with 100% zoom. It was pretty much single space and no background color. And over here on the right, we have a blue background color with bold text, size 18 font, and 125% zoom. But you can see that there is a clear readability here, increase in readability here. And this can be a really powerful tool for a lot of our students. So I think it's worth having a conversation with them and seeing what some of their preferences are, teaching them how to increase readability in text as they move across the internet.